Hi, I'm Candace. I'm the politics editor at Blavity Politics. I'm here chilling with the rest of the Blavity crew, sitting with presidential candidate Mayor of Miramar, Wayne Messam.
Hey.
So to kick off the questions, just want to know, you're here at Blavity and we keep it real here, so why are you running for president?
Well, as a mayor of a major city in the state of Florida, actually being the son of immigrants, my parents are from Jamaica. My father actually was a contract sugarcane cutter that came back and forth from Jamaica. The labor was so tough to harvest sugarcane, farmers had to import labor from the Caribbean. So my father did that for over a decade, at times working for 75 cents per row of sugarcane. And that's about a quarter mile long. So I learned the hard values of work from my mother and my father growing up in western Palm Beach County in South Bay, Florida, with the heart of sugarcane company. I went to Florida State on football and academic scholarship. I played for legendary coach Bobby Bowden, was a national champion on the '93 team on the first national championship of Florida State. Go Noles. And had a brief stint with the Cincinnati Bengals in the NFL, and my NFL career was cut short. My wife and I, we started a construction management company, which is one of the fastest growing minority construction companies in the state. And then I became mayor of the city of Miramar, where I had the opportunity to serve nearly 150,000 residents. And when you look at the issues in Miramar that we are solving in terms of a lot of progressive issues, I'm suing the state of Florida right now so that we can have more control of gun safety in our city. I'm fighting oil drilling right outside of our city in the Everglades. And we passed a living wage in our city. We have a really fast growing economy, one of the fastest growing economies in the country. We're actually stealing jobs away from China while other cities across America are losing jobs in manufacturing to China. So I figured that, these are issues that Americans are facing. I mean, people are working 2 and 3 jobs because they can't make ends meet. They can't afford health care. They say you have to have a 4-year degree to get a high-paying job, but then you graduate from college and you're sacked with tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt. So the American people needs a champion. Needs someone who's going to fight for these issues, and the sense of urgency isn't coming from Washington right now. I'm not from Washington. I'm an outsider. I'm a mayor of a city. I'm an average, everyday guy that's living the American dream that attracted my parents to this country. And I feel that that American dream is slipping away from most Americans. And I want to be the champion to bring that American dream back to everyday, average, working class and middle class people.
I got a question real quick.
Yeah.
So I know those are things that we should know about you, but I feel like anyone could say that, So I'm wondering, what's something like maybe a fun fact or like a random thing that we might not read in the papers or anything about that we can relate to you, or just, it doesn't even have to relate to us, but like be able to know more about you, Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think things that stand out for me that's unique, because I think what you're saying, what's unique about me.
Yeah.
I love fitness and wellness, even though I'm so far removed from professional athletics and playing football at Florida State. I actually started a run club in my city. We have to take care of ourselves. Our vessels is our most important prize. So I think if anyone walks away to know that, I get up 4 o'clock in the morning to go either hit the gym or to run, because my health is that important to me. If I'm not willing to invest in my vessel and myself, then I won't be the best father I can be. I won't be the best businessman I can be. And I definitely would not be the best president that I aspire to be. So I think that's right. So I think that each of you all deserve to put yourself on a silver platter and wine and dine yourself by investing in yourself. And I encourage each of you to do that.
So you say no to patties too?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do, but not every day. Not every day. Not every day.
It's funny, just piggybacking off of Tracy, in order to have or think of yourself as a potential president, everybody has to think of themselves as a winner, right? All the different nominees, what do you say to haters who say that you don't have a chance to become president? And then how do you also to distinguish yourself amongst all the other candidates, because all the other candidates think of themselves as winners and have overcome crazy odds just to even think of themselves as potential presidents?
Well, first of all, just to put yourself out there to run for this office takes a matter of guts, no matter who you are. I think it's not difficult for me to stand out as one of the candidates, because first, I'm 6'5", I'm a brother, and I'm a mayor of a city, and mayors are not traditionally known for running for President of the United States. So just by having the audacity to step out, I think separates myself. But I think what makes me a unique candidate is that I'm an outsider. I'm not from Washington. I'm a business owner who knows how to make a payroll, but yet I'm a mayor who understands the importance of passing a living wage in my city. I even banned the box in my city because, you know, everyone needs a second chance if we've made a mistake, and you shouldn't be shackled to the transgressions of your past if you're trying to move yourself forward. You know, I will be able to get on the debate stage, and I'm asking everyone to help me get on the debate stage by being one of my 65,000 unique donors that I have to make that debate stage.
Can I be candid?
I want you to be.
Something you said right now, you know, kind of, you mentioned, you know, this current president, and one of the things that he campaigned on as well was that he is an outsider. So when I heard that, kind of took me back a little bit.
Okay.
So, you know, being a business owner, that's one of the other things I heard you say. How are you going to distance yourself from the president, the person in office right now, that campaigned on that? What's your differentiation? Because, yeah, for me, it was kind of a whoa. So how would you address that to the community who feels the outsider is not necessarily a good thing?
Well, I think when you compare Wayne Messam to Donald Trump, there is a valley of difference between the two of us. And the thing, I'm working on almost a decade of public service as an elected official, what he did not bring to the table. All right, he didn't come into office talking about having concerns of any of you. If you have a student loan debt you're paying right now, raise your hand. Right? Everywhere I go, at least 2/3 of the room raises their hand. He didn't come into office talking about wiping that away from you to free up $300 to $400 out of your disposable income so that you can buy a home, so that you can invest in the business, so you can invest in your retirement. He did not say that. He's not talking about passing a living wage or even raising the minimum wage of this nation. These are the things that I'm advocating for. I have a very aggressive plan in terms of gun violence. He's not talking about banning assault-style weapons. He's not talking about universal background checks and making sure that people who shouldn't have guns should have guns. He's basically pitting Americans against Americans. I'm the son of immigrants. And what is he saying about immigrants? We're thieves, we're murderers, we're drug pushers. No, my father was a sugarcane cutter. My mother was a cook who used to feed the men in those sugar canes and became a domestic worker. And look at their son here now, petitioning to be the president of the United States. So I think I draw vast contrast when you compare what a Messam administration would look like and what he proposed when he was running for president.
As somebody who voted for change in 2008 and again in 2012 and didn't necessarily see all of the tangible legislative wins that I wanted to see in terms of explicitly for black people. So what would you do if elected president to specifically address the issues of the black community in this country? And what do you think those issues are? As well as what would you say to those of us who have become a little disenchanted with the political system and don't necessarily want to be involved or maybe a little bit apathetic?
Well, what I say, don't let your apathy keep you disengaged. Because if you let your apathy disengage you from the political process, then you become the croissants that's on this table, ready to be devoured by whoever is engaged and whoever is making the policies, who is making the appropriations, right? I don't want you to be the fudge and the raisins and the dough, all right? I want you to be the dough maker, okay? So you have to get involved, organize, right? Organize. Whether it's blocks of people, this is what controls the political process. It's money and big blocks of people who are organized. So if you got the money, apply it to the political process. If you got the support with the people, organize and get involved in the process. And that would be my advice to you.
Most of us don't have the money, and I think reparations is a huge topic amongst candidates this year. What is your stand on that matter?
Well, first of all, I would say that this nation has yet to deal up front and head on the issue of enslaved people that built this country with free labor. All right? We have to recognize that first. And obviously, black people that are in this country that are descendants of those enslaved people, all right, are in current situations today as a consequence of that free labor. But it's more than just the money that was not paid to former enslaved people, because it evolved in terms of, as this nation accepted blacks into this society, and we went through the civil rights issues until we are today, there's still other consequences that were caused by Jim Crow laws, redlining, not even being able to stay in certain neighborhoods, not having the access to funding to purchase housing and getting certain loans from banks. These are all things that have compounded over the years. So folks will say that, well, I never owned a slave, and maybe because the question about reparations have always come up. So I think as president and me running as a candidate, I think what we have to do is I support the HR 40 bill that's being proposed, which will basically, it will scientifically study the actual impacts of enslaved people's free labor and what it means today. Because if we're going to say reparations, what are reparations? We have to define it. And to define it, we have to be able to scientifically say, who was impacted, what were the implications of this policy that was implemented over the years, and this group of people not having access to this type of resources that other white communities were able to have. So now when the study is done and complete, we have a full set of information and a complete perspective of what has happened. And then we can actually put remedy to repair the consequences of the free labor of enslaved people that helped build this country. And I think until we do that, we will always be demagogued in terms of how does this nation face up front the results of what happened to our forefathers that were in this country, that helped build this country to where we are today. And that's my position.
Okay, so let's talk about student debt. As you mentioned earlier, a lot of millennials have student debt. Yet student debt forgiveness is a hot topic that anyone is using on their campaigns. So why have you decided to make that a main focus of your campaign, and what strategy do you have to be able to tackle that? Because a lot of money can be made with the higher education system.
Well, the thing is what I'll do is I'll put into clarity and give a correction. I'm the only presidential candidate that has proposed a plan to forgive the $1.5 trillion in outstanding student loan debt.
And so do you plan on doing that through law and legislation, or is there what's the specific steps?
How I will do that, first let me explain what it is. The $1.5 trillion in out student loan debt is not only, burdened by millennials, recent graduates, parents, grandparents that are funding higher education for their kids, all right? We will pay for this by repealing the nearly $2 trillion in the Trump tax cut that was planned, that was passed, all right? That went to corporations and the richest of Americans. There's 44 million people that have this debt. It is the second largest consumer debt, second only to housing. It's 500 million more than credit card debt. If I was to ask the question, everyone probably would have raised their hands and said that credit card debt is the highest consumer debt. But this student loan debt is the second highest, and it's costing $400 a month and $30,000 on average. All the other candidates are just talking about having debt-free college and lowering the cost for education. They're not dealing with what is owed right now. Before we can deal with debt-free college, let's deal with the $1.5 trillion that's outstanding. And we're going to do this not as a erase their debt, because the right side is going to say, oh, well, they are responsible for their own debts. But not really. They're not responsible for it. Because what you're told that you have to do to get a high-paying job, you got to get a higher education, right? Corporations demand it, or you won't even be hired because you won't have the skill set or the training. So it's not just this free choice you make. But guess who have to borrow the money? Working class people, mostly people of color, and middle class Americans. That's who have to take on this debt. So by doing that, we're going to propose it as an economic stimulus. And what that'll do is in the first year, it'll add $80 to $100 billion in real GDP the first year. And in the first couple of years, we'll create over 1 million to 1.5 million jobs. It'll free up $400 on average to the average borrower.
How are you going to appeal to millennials in a way that comes off as authentic? We're a very finicky group, and we can be very judgmental and turn on people like that. So how are you going to appeal to us in a way that seems authentic and relatable?
Well, I've had a lot of practice between my twin daughters and my 21-year-old son. My twin daughters are 19, so I not only get it, I'm so proud of my children. They keep me straight. They keep it real with me, just like this discussion, has been very real, and I really appreciate it. But I think what I think millennials look for, in addition to authenticity, they're looking for someone who they feel will inspire them, that will challenge them to be problem solvers, that will let them know that there is hope, that there is a way for them to achieve what they want to achieve. And as I said before, in terms of being organized and getting involved, and don't let apathy reign, you have more power than you know, especially as a demographic group. Because what I like about millennials, it's not just a black millennial thing or a white millennial thing or a Latino millennial thing. There are so many shared interests among millennials in terms of the viewpoint on climate change, living wage, the economy. And if you all galvanize together, there's strength in numbers. And I'll close with, help me get on the debate stage. Visit WayneForAmerica.com and be one of my 65,000.
Thank you for coming.